Greetings, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to the Kamado Joe Cooking Channel. Today we're going to try out one of Kamado Joe's new accessories, the deep dish pizza pan, and we are going to put together a Chicago style deep dish pizza and fire it up on the Kamado Joe. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is get started on our dough, and I've taken my KitchenAid mixer bowl here. We're going to put 1 1/4 cups of lukewarm water in the mixing bowl, and then 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast, and we're going to let that sit for 10 minutes or so until that yeast rehydrates. While our yeast is rehydrating, I'm going to add my other dry ingredients to a mixing bowl. I've got 3 1/4 cups of flour, 1 1/2 cups of cornmeal, 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, and 2 teaspoons of sugar. And I'm just going to take my whisk and we're going to mix that all together. Okay, after our yeast is rehydrated, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of melted butter, and then we're going to add our dry ingredients to the mixing bowl. And next I'm going to install the mixing bowl on the KitchenAid mixer, and we're going to raise the bowl up, and we're going to turn the mixer on low speed until we get a dough ball formed. Once our dough starts to come together in a ball about like this, I'm going to turn the mixer speed up to medium, and we're going to let it knead for about 5 minutes. Okay, when you've got a nice dough ball, it's going to start walking up your hook, and it's going to have clean the sides of the bowl. Your dough will be pulling away from the bowl nicely. So we're finished kneading. Next thing I'm going to do is take our mixing bowl and drizzle in a little bit of olive oil, and I'm going to rub that all around the insides of this bowl. And then we're going to take our pizza dough and put it right in there, and we're going to kind of roll it around to get the outside of it coated with that oil so it won't form a skin. We're going to cover that and let it rise until it doubles in size, which will take about an hour. Okay, I've sprinkled a little bit of flour out on the cutting board. We're just going to kind of spread it out, and then we're going to turn our dough right out onto the board, and we're going to roll this out with my rolling pin into a large rectangle. Once we get that rolled out, I've got about 1/2 stick of softened butter, and what we're going to do is spread softened butter all over the surface of this. Going to get a nice even coat of it, just like that. So we've got the butter spread. We're going to start from one end, and we're going to roll this dough up into a log, and then we're going to bring it around and fold it over on itself in thirds, just like that. And then we're just going to kind of knead it back into a dough ball. Then we're going to take our mixing bowl and add a little bit more olive oil to it and spread that back through there. We're going to put our dough ball back in and kind of wiggle it around a little bit and get a good coating of the oil on both sides. I'm going to recover this with plastic. We're going to let it rise for another hour. Okay, while we're letting that dough rise up again, we're going to fire up the Kamado Joe Classic. I'm going to use 2 of my Kamado Joe fire starter cubes. I'm going to light up both of these guys. We're going to leave the bottom vent fully open. We're going to let these burn for about 10 minutes with the lid open. Okay, after our fire gets going, I am going to install the accessory rack. I've got the flexible cooking rack in place, and I'm going to put the accessory rack in the top position and secure it on the 2 pins. And then the next thing we're going to do is set our half moon heat deflectors in the center of the accessory rack. And at this point, we're going to close the Joe up, and we're going to let it come up to 425 to 450. In order to get to 425 and 450 for this cook, since it's a higher temperature cook, I am going to open my bottom vent fully, and we're going to leave that in that position for the entire cook. And I'm going to close the top vent almost all the way and leave the daisy wheel open. I'm going to leave that top vent cracked just a little bit on the slider, and we're going to watch that, and we're going to make all our temperature adjustments from here until this grill gets up to, you know, 425 to 450. Okay, our dough's finished rising again here, so we're going to take that out, put it on our cutting board, and we're going to roll this thing out into a rather large circle, which is going to be big enough to fit our Kamado Joe deep dish pizza pan. So let me get this rolled out. Okay, as you can see here, we've got a rather large pizza, but this deep dish pizza pan is huge. So what we're going to do next is lift this up and get it in the pan. Okay, that took several hands. So now that we've got it in the pan, we're going to form it in where it fits into the sides and there's no air. And once you get it worked around, what I recommend doing is take your rolling pin and go around the top edge to cut the excess dough off. And then just make sure your dough is sticking up, you know, worked up to the sides of the pan. Next thing we're going to do is rub a little olive oil onto the surface of this crust. After we have the olive oil in, we're going to put some freshly grated mozzarella cheese on the bottom. You're going to want to put a nice liberal dose of this and spread it out evenly, just like that. Then we're going to follow that with a nice thick layer of pepperoni all the way around. Get a nice even layer of pepperoni. And then my next ingredient is going to be some Italian sausage. I've gone ahead and pre-cooked this. This is just some of the standard Johnsonville mild. I'm going to follow that Italian sausage with some rings of onion all over this guy. And the final step here, we're going to spoon in our sauce on top. Okay, and you try to spread that sauce out nice and evenly all the way around to the edges of this thing. Okay, our grill's up to just over 400 degrees, so we're going to go ahead and put this on. We're going to set this right in the middle. Not sure quite how long it's going to take, so let's close it up and let it cook. Okay folks, this pizza is just about done. We've been going for 55 minutes, and just before it finishes up, I'm going to grate on a little bit of Asiago cheese right on top, and I'm going to close it back up and let it go for probably about 5 more minutes. Okay, this monster deep dish is ready, so I'm going to take it off the grill. We're going to let it sit and cool in that dish for about 20 minutes. Okay folks, this thing's cooled down and ready to go. I've taken it out of the pan. This crust is absolutely perfect. I can't wait to cut that open. Let me spin it around here. I've got a little place where I tore it a little bit when I was getting it out of the pan. If you can just see how flaky that is. We're going to cut this guy up and serve this for dinner here tonight while we watch a little bit of the World Cup. So give this pan a try. I mean, you're going to love this pan. It's got a lot of functionality besides pizzas. You can cook any kind of big casserole you want in that pan. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/KamadoJoe, and leave us a comment on this video. Let us know what you think. Until next time, this is John Setzler with Kamado Joe Cooking Channel.